Among Us has been all over the internet, both on YouTube and Instagram, Twitch, and even Facebook. But is there something more sinister going on in a game all about killing your untrustworthy friends? Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host Connor Monroe, and I'm always sus. If you like Among Us and want to see some high IQ and low IQ plays and lists, click up in the top right corner to see our playlist of the Top 10 Among Us. We played with the most amazing Top 10 crew twice, so feel free to check those out after this. But today we're talking the Top 10 Scary Among Us theories, especially with spooky season having arrived and our last gameplay being Halloween themed Among Us. You're gonna want to see this. If you're new here and like the content, why not hit like and subscribe? It's free and you can always get a refund if you're not happy. Alright, let's do this. In at 10, aliens! We all know that the imposter is an alien in the Among Us game, and that just leads us to assume that everyone is an alien, but what if they're not? What if the only alien in the game is the only imposter, or more if you haven't said to 2 or 3 imposters? If that was the case, then this game just got a whole lot creepier and honestly more like a horror movie. When I think horror movie, I think dumb protagonists, like a dude who taunts the monster, or the group who dresses in the spacesuits designed the exact way that the aliens that want to murder you and your friends have evolved. That's like everyone dressing like Jason when Jason is after you. Sure, you may not have the same builds, but you know what I mean. That's like the craziest and the dumbest thing you can do in a horror movie. And if the imposter is really the only alien, then that's kinda nuts. Unless the alien has the ability to like shapeshift, in which case why can't I claim someone's color when I kill them? Because like, that would be kind of awesome. And then you could like hit the button and hide that you're not like, you could hide the body and claim that you're them. Unless someone finds the body, then your color gets revealed. I don't know, that'd be pretty sick. In at 9, origins. While we may know that the imposters are some form of shapeshifter, confirmed by the game devs on their website, what we want to know is what are the origins of the crewmate? Most people seem to think that the crewmate is human, and this is reasonable to assume, but I know for a fact that humans have 205 more bones than the crewmates, since, you know, they only have one that sticks out when they die. They also seem to fill their spacesuits perfectly, since there's no on-screen gap that we can see, so we can assume that they fill up the entire suit. Or just are the suit, because if not, that suit is one thick boy, oh my god. So they must be some form of alien. In that case, are they the same kind of alien as the imposters, but only more docile? Are they actually a member of the same species as the imposters, or are they some form of related species along the same evolutionary path? We know that the imposters can shapeshift, but that doesn't mean that they actually have to. And that doesn't mean that they shifted to look like the crewmates. Let me know your thoughts down below. And before we get into number 8, be sure you're hitting that like button if you're enjoying, okay? It really helps us out and lets us know what you want to see more of.
Number 8, the color red. Have you ever been playing a game and think just red is the most sus, but then afterward wondered why most Among Us memes and other such tributes to the game focus on red being the most sus? Is this a coincidence? Should you always be afraid of red? And if you already do feel like you're always afraid of red, why is that? Well, you actually might not be in the wrong here if you are feeling the fear when it comes to whoever has chosen red as their color, or simply got it by chance. At least not when it comes to psychology and color theory. In reality, different colors are associated with certain things. When it comes to the color red, this color is often associated with things like danger, warning, anger, and blood for most people. So it makes sense that your brain would be firing off signals reminding you to be wary. But what's more scary than this is that the color association that your brain is exploring actually could be misdirecting you, as each color, in fact, has an equal chance of being made the imposter in a game. So in other words, while some theorize that red is the most sus, you should be just as suspicious of everyone in the game, which honestly is more scary. Talk about paranoia.
And at 7, vents are portals. We can't see the underbelly of the ship, and that's fair enough, we don't really need to, but how are we gonna go from vent to vent so quickly? Sure, we click a button and move there, but how is our character moving around them so fast? There's only one answer. Portals. The vents must be portals, whether they be to each other or somewhere else before you pop up seemingly instantly. Like, come on, let's think about that. If the portals really bring you to another plane before putting you back on the ship, where would they be? The easy answer is the depths of hell where they originated, since only the imposter is able to enter vents. Actually, now that I think about it, this has to be right. Otherwise the crewmates could travel through the vents too. Hell, just camping in a vent could make it easy to catch an imposter. With that in mind, I think the only option is that the vents are secret portals that bring you to the underworld, where you're probably gonna chill with your homies and then pop back up almost instantly because time works differently in hell, and then you snap someone's neck in the dark.
At number 6, where did the imposters come from? So where are they from? We have no concrete story of the imposters' origin, but there is a theory that they came from the frozen waste of the planet Polis. See, the idea here is that while the crewmates were stationed on Polis, they were looking for a substance to power the Mira HQ. This is supported by the fact that you can see mining gear on the map and excavation sites everywhere. Now, while mining, it is believed that the crewmates stumbled across an unknown specimen and they decided to study this unknown life form. It is also backed up by the fact that there's a specimen room on the Polis map. Now, on top of that, there's evidence that these specimens broke out of their containers and got loose in the area, because in the Polis laboratory you can see broken glass, so maybe these specimens or parasites were dormant while in the freezing temperatures outside, but when brought in to study, they slowly woke up again as they acclimated to warmer temperatures and they broke out of their containers. Now, these creatures are shapeshifting and killing crewmates left, right, and center. Maybe they're evil, or maybe they're just grumpy that the crewmates woke them up.
Halfway through number 5, meetings. Honestly, the scariest theories about Among Us that can be made will be made in game. When people start acting sus, you're bound to create theories as to who and why they could be sus, and you'll eventually narrow it down to who you think is guilty. That's still a theory, unless you literally watch them vent or kill someone, but no matter what, at some point someone will make a theory, and it could be accusing you. Of course, these kinds of theories aren't what you clicked for, so I'm not gonna put it at number 1, but it's worth pointing out. The theories people make while playing the game, true or not, are still the scariest of them all. Those can put you on edge, those can cost you your life, and they can ultimately lose you at the game. And we all need that sweet, sweet win-loss ratio.
Number 4, imposters are evil AI. While many think that the imposters must be created by some kind of infected crewmate, some disease or alien taking hold of them and turning them into a violent, bloodthirsty imposter hell-bent on taking over the ship, there are other theories out there that suggest it could actually be the ship itself. More of a Hal or Gladys situation here, where an AI that in this case represents the ship is attempting to take control of its own destiny, infiltrating the crew by either infecting an existing crew with a techno-organic virus that turns them machine, or impersonating them and eliminating the rest of the crew for their own good, or simply because it wants to be the one in charge of the mission. I mean, if I were a ship and people were like using me to do stuff, I'd be like, hey, can I decide what we do? I'm just asking. AIs are scary and could be sneaky, I'm just saying. I've read and watched enough sci-fi films to know the dangers here.
And at 3, harder they fall. The game actually keeps track of your stats. It's available from the main menu of the game, and it actively keeps updating with things like your crewmate wins, your imposter kills, your games played, your games completed, and so on. But why would it do this other than to update you? Because perhaps it's tailoring the game to you. This wouldn't be creepy on its own, but the idea of the game actively changing or being specific to you is creepy as hell and borderline AI technology. It could give you imposter if you haven't played imposter that much, or it could do it if you just need some boosting, or just to give other players a challenge. The idea that the game can update around you and actively watches your in-game data is terrifying, at least for me. And don't come at me in the comments saying, oh, this isn't scary, because scary is subjective. And if you're not scared by the AI apocalypse, then you'll be one of the first to go. You think your coffee maker is working with you, and then boom, it melts your face and starts laughing with a Tassimo over your corpse. That's how it's gonna happen.
At number 2, horror story. This next theory comes from Reddit user I_exist_yay, and I have to say it is quite an intriguing story. Basically, the theory is that the whole story of the game, its whole premise of the imposter who goes around killing crewmates, was just a horror story. Team members are just telling the story of a crewmate who kind of snapped and went on a killing spree in an attempt to find and kill an imposter that they believe is on board, not realizing that they themselves are the imposter. This crewmate lives with the idea that they're saving everyone when in reality they're the one who is the imposter. The idea that this is a horror story is pretty cool, but I want to take it one step further by adding the theory that the events of the game are taking place inside of a crewmate's dream. Imagine the crewmate heard this imposter horror story and they ended up dreaming about it that night, and the game that we're playing are the events taking place inside the crewmate's dream. This could explain the screens at the beginning and end of rounds, sort of looking like what you would see when your eyes are half open. The scenes signifying the beginning of the dream going into the game, and the end of the dream as the crewmate wakes up from the dream or nightmare, depending on if they won or lost.
Finally, in at number 1, you lose. I wrote this number down before watching the MatPat video, and it's funny how we pretty much came to the same conclusion. He seems to think that you don't win because you never deal with the imposters. I think it's because you deal with them and then fix the ship in time for you to feel safe. Safe enough to return to Mirror HQ without feeling threatened, but there were still more imposters over there. They've invaded and there will always be more imposters. I'm sure they make babies like rabbits. They will never be defeated because they've already won. They could have been at this for years, even decades, without anyone else knowing. They could have the entire galaxy in their fingertips without us knowing, okay? Like I said, it's like assimilate, and even if there may be a resistance to fight the imposters off, the sequel got cancelled. Yeah, get it? Because just like the movie, because they set up a sequel and then didn't get it, at least. I don't know, because it came out in 2019. So there could still be a sequel, just like there could still be a sequel to Among Us. Thank you.
At number 10, you can't win. Have you ever played a game where you never really win? Well, according to a theory by the one and only MatPat, if you've been playing Among Us, you can say that you have. While yes, there is a way of winning the game, if you and the other crew members make it out alive, whether by ejecting the imposter or by completing all of your tasks before the imposter gets the chance to kill everyone, it might not be the real ending. When you think about it, you and your fellow crew members are on a ship or on a planet or even at HQ trying to complete your tasks, but every time there seems to be something coming after you. Now you can pass each round successfully and move on to other locations with new people all you want, but you keep losing even if you end up getting away with your life. How, you ask? Well, because you're never really resolving the issue. No matter how many times you and the crewmates win, the imposter just keeps coming back and will keep doing so until you permanently put a stop to them. The only way you can truly win is if you eradicate the imposter for good and make sure that they cannot come back and try and kill you again. So until that happens, good luck losing.
And a 9 kill cooldown. The kill cooldown in game is obviously for balancing purposes, so you can't just kill everyone in a room before they have the chance to report a body. However, there has to be some reason for it in universe, right? It's not like the imposter is just being polite and waiting for someone to notice a body. No, there has to be a reason, but what is it? YouTuber Mr. Chubby Wubs the Cat has a pretty decent explanation that they cover in their video, Why Does the Imposter Not Kill Everyone? They believe that the imposter cleans off their murder weapon before continuing to the next victim, whether it be a knife, a gun, or of course the tongue. This obviously doesn't explain the whole neck snap, but we can assume it takes time to rip the top half of someone's body off. I can attest to this. The gun obviously needs to be reloaded, and the knife needs the blood wiped off. And they're sure that the imposter will want to take the shards of glass out of its tongue. I doubt it's a midnight snack, since it's pierced the entire spacesuit. The link to the full video is in the description, and I think it's an excellent theory and suggest you check the video out. It's like 3 minutes long, okay? Tell them the king sent you. And it ain't story. The story of Among Us is fairly simple, and I'm sure you can guess about what it is. The story goes in the map order that you see on screen. The crewmates first discover the imposters on the Skeld map and then repair the ship to quickly get back to Mirror HQ. But the thing is, they don't take care of the imposters, they just repair the ship, so the imposters are still there. Then they go to Polis in an effort to escape, but again, they didn't deal with them. Or did they? The scenario is entirely possible that they went to Mirror HQ after getting rid of the imposters and then repairing the ship. That's why they thought that they would be safe going back to Mirror HQ. You know, since the map description says, quote, after a long journey on the Skeld, the crewmates decided to spend some time back at the Mirror headquarters. Surely there aren't as many imposters there. Also, notice that they said as many, so they already knew that there was some, maybe? This shows that they thought that they were safe, meaning they dealt with the imposters. It's like the movie Assimilate from 2019. Spoiler alert, by the way. At the end of the movie, they realized that they were actually the last town to be attacked by the aliens. Yeah, everyone else in the world was assimilated already. Maybe that's the same idea here. Maybe the imposters have already invaded everyone else and the ones out on a space mission are the last ones to know. Kinda makes sense. And at 7, why the wait? This is a thought I consider often. Why not just slaughter them all? Well, in my case, it's just a matter of self-control, but with the imposters, however, what's the deal? They can kill instantly, so why are they waiting up to 30 seconds between kills? A theory proposed by YouTuber Mr. Chubby Wubs the Cat states that perhaps the imposter cleans off their weapon after killing, or at least refurbishes it in some way so the others don't suspect him. We can assume they all have ways of killing people, hence why they don't instantly know that the only one with a gun is the imposter. So if you shoot someone, you gotta reload the gun, or if you stab them, you gotta wipe off the knife. If you snap their neck, then you gotta rip the top half of their body off, and trust me, that isn't easy. Or clean the blood off your hands, because you know tearing a corpse in half can get a little bloody. This makes a great amount of sense, and I actually suggest you check out the full video. It's like 3 minutes long and explains it in better detail than I can because it was their idea. So yeah, you can check it out. And at 6, instigating. The world is in turmoil right now. And with games like this, the whole not trusting those closest to you thing is gonna get even worse. I know for one that people here in the office always think that I'm suspicious now, even when we're not playing the game. However, if this game got more popular in order to instigate more violence or make people less trustworthy of everyone, including certain authority figures, would that really be a surprise? I mean, there have already been memes about this kind of thing, whether it be about TV shows like The Flash Season 1 saying there's an imposter among us, or just politics, like saying that the Kim Jong-un who came back after we all thought he died was an imposter. So the game has been used in these ways. Maybe that was always the intention, and maybe we're just a victim. I mean, in this climate, can we really discount anything? To me, that's sus. I'm gonna keep saying it, so deal with it. Halfway through at number 5, what do they want? Like Bree said, it's canon that the imposters are shapeshifters that sabotage and murder their way to victory. But what is victory for them? What is their end goal? Are they in the end game now? They could very well just want the evisceration of the human race. Perhaps we invaded their territory and they're mad about it. Understandable. Or maybe they're killing their planet and they need to move to another one. Perhaps it's a commentary on how we're killing our planet. Or a way for the InnerSloth devs to depict their thoughts of murderous rampage without hurting anything but friendships. Or maybe the imposters on their own mission because someone ate the slice of pizza that they were saving in the fridge. That's also understandable. But I'm sure we can assume that it's probably one of the more violent ones, like wanting to destroy the race of crewmates, they want to claim the planet as their own, or someone took their slice of pizza. And for the next map. The next map was announced on the official Among Us game Twitter page. They shared a screenshot of one of the rooms and have been providing more screenshots from things that were already in that room. From the screenshot we can see a vent, a download or upload task, a crewmate in white, and a security guard outfit, potentially indicating this is the security room, but it's more likely navigation or something similar, thanks to the room looking like the front of a spaceship. We can see things written on the window, which will probably be a task, another crewmate who is somehow 2 colors, both purple and gray with a mustache and a top hat, Mumbo Jumbo? An accept power redirect task in the bottom right, and stairs, which will probably be the only way to get up or down the 2 levels of this room. My theory is that this is a FNAF crossover map. I know, scary, right? Think about it, okay? We have a guy in purple who's in a disguise and a security guard. Come on, that's basically confirmed, right? I mean, like, this is what people do with the series. They see one thing online and treat it as fact for the entire series, like calling the crying child frickin' Bruce or Constance or whatever they called him, even though he has no canon name. Sorry about that. I wrote the point and then forgot this list had to be scary, so I had to figure out a reason. And at 3, vents. There is a reason that crewmates don't enter the vents. There are many theories as to why. For example, some believe that they're just too small and that the imposters can fit in because they're shapeshifters, which is a very good idea, but if the vents are too small for a crewmate to fit, why are they popping out looking like a crewmate? They would have to pop out and then change back, right? Plus, I'm no expert, but I feel like bigger vents means more oxygen getting around to every room of the ship, since, you know, they have to make the oxygen in-house and sometimes there's leaves blocking the filter. So, especially if that happens so frequently, they'd want as much air as possible. Another explanation is that the crewmates saw something down there. Perhaps the imposter's original form, or perhaps the body of the crewmate the imposter replaced. Since the whole crew is suspicious as soon as you start the game, they need to know something is up. And it's not like you have an extra person, otherwise you would know who the imposter was. What is up with those damn vents? Maybe those duct cleaning guys should... Oh, hold on. No way, speak of the devil? Hello? Yeah, I have a question. Would you be able to clean the vents on a spaceship and probably search for dead bodies while you're at it? I have tasks to do around the ship and the... Hello? They hung up. And at 2, red is sus. There's a meme of red always being sus. Perhaps it's color theory and we just consider red to be an aggressive color, or that players who are red while the imposter are more aggressive because of that. But it could be an actual mechanic in the game that red is programmed to be imposter more often. Let's look at the gameplay that we've done on the channel. In both of the videos that we've played Among Us in so far, Eamon Hassan from Most Amazing Top 10 has played as red, and in both those videos she has been the imposter. In the warm-up rounds she was imposter often as well. In both those videos I wasn't playing as red, and I've been imposter less. Sure, the first time we tried, I was the imposter 3 times in a row, but then nobody was playing as red. But once there was, I got the imposter once and then not at all. It may not look that way on camera, but there are plenty of rounds that we need to cut out for these videos because they're not interesting or nothing funny happens. But Eamon seems to be the imposter fairly often, even when playing on her own from what she told us. Red is sus because the game is making it so that they're the imposter more often. I'm totally not stretching this is 100% a fact. Trust me. Finally, in at number 1, all crewmates are imposters. What if all of the crewmates are imposters? I mean, it would make some form of whack sense. They all could have gotten infected or taken over by shape-shifting parasites that planned on infiltrating Earth or Polis. This would explain how there would be more than one, how it could be any color, especially if we are to believe that there is a story to the game, and provide another plausible explanation for everything going on. But if this was the case, what would cause one of them to go berserk, killing all the others? This could be multiple things. Perhaps remorse, the desire to prevent things from happening. Perhaps that imposter is working with the government and was tasked with dealing with the others. Maybe he just doesn't like his coworkers. It's really unclear. I would absolutely love some help on this. If you'd like, you can provide some explanations as to why the imposter would turn on the others in the comments below.
Number 10, imposter anatomy. One of the theories that fans have out there is that the imposters actually have a different skeleton in comparison to the crewmates. Where crewmates, if under an X-ray, have a normal skeleton, imposters either have no bones whatsoever or are little jelly babies, basically. Though I don't know how they'd be able to walk around if they were, unless they're like super dense jelly babies, or they have something much more freaky going on within their skeleton, and have something like an alien-style xenomorph inside them. Maybe even just a tiny one lurking in their brain, or their stomach, or of course, their chest. Yikes.
In at 9, Area 51 recreation. We all remember last year, right? Where it was legal to step outside, we didn't have death boxes covering our mouths, and we didn't know about the selfish pricks who agreed with that previous statement. However, on September 20th of last year, the internet grouped together to storm Area 51, a long-kept secret of the American government that was speculated to be filled with aliens and alien tech. But we didn't actually raid the base, we just stood outside, because nobody but a grandmother had the cojones to actually do it. But what if this game was secretly meant to be an ingenious way to declassify what's going on in Area 51 by a couple of pissed off government workers? It would explain why the game is cheap, because they needed to make it look legit enough to be an actual game, but cheap enough so that people would buy it and spread awareness, and if a game like this was 100% free, there may be speculation or suspicion. But maybe this is really what's going on in Area 51. The game was released in November of 2018, the 16th to be exact, and what happened only 3 days before? Authorities were investigating UFO sightings by commercial pilots. Coincidence? I think not.
At number 8, what are the imposters? Really, what are the imposters? Are they a bunch of crewmates who went crazy? Are they aliens looking to wipe out the human race? Well, it turns out that the imposters are a race of parasitic shapeshifters that have pretty much infiltrated the crew and are trying to kill everyone. I mean, this really isn't a theory, it's canon. According to the developers, these shapeshifters are the ones who are trying to sabotage and murder their way to victory. This also goes along with MatPat's theory of how you can never win the game because these imposters being shapeshifters can always take the place of a new person. Really, if you successfully eject a person who you thought was the imposter, they could have already shapeshifted into a completely new person, so the one you just ejected was parasite free. Or you could just have multiple parasites on the ship and you wouldn't even know it. We know that the imposters aren't human because of the cutscenes that show the players being killed. That tongue spike thing, I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody who has that. We don't know where they came from, but my best guess is that they came from deep space or something.
In its 7, shared universe. The shared universe isn't really a theory anymore, it's just accepted as fact. And it's easy to see why. In the Henry Stickmin collection, we see a man named Polis Petrovich, who according to his bio was able to name a planet after himself because he won a contest. So he clearly got to name Planet Polis, which we can actually play in Among Us. But the connection only grows from there, from multiple references to Among Us and Henry Stickmin to references of the Top Hat clan, the wall guard skin being from Fleeing the Complex, Charles's headphones, and more. At this point, it's pretty much confirmed that they're in the same universe. Why is it scary? Think about the world this opens up. Think of the lore that we can get from this. Are the crewmates the same species as Henry Stickmin, and that's why there's only one bone? Is it the line that makes up the stick figure? Does that mean that all stickmen are walking skeletons? Are the imposters the same species as the stickmen? Have the stickmen been assimilated or infiltrated? We don't know. But this connection brings up a whole lot of crap to deal with. And you know what? I'm gonna let MatPat do it. Nope. I've done too much FNAF. It's your turn, Matt.
Number 6. Survival of the fittest. Are imposters basically sharks? One theory suggests that imposters might not actually be villains at all, but just misunderstood animals from the planet Polis, which can also be visited through the Among Us map, which shares the same name. Imposters could actually be a species of shapeshifting animals from this planet who are simply looking to survive, which is why they actually eat, or at least partially eat, their crewmates. Perhaps these carnivorous creatures are hungry and scared and are just lashing out looking to find a home. Although then we might ponder how they are intelligent enough and why even they are interested in things like sabotaging the other crewmates. And if they are starving, why is it they leave half a body behind? Although I believe that imposters might be like the misunderstood, often sensationalized great white shark, which in films and television are often presented as a monster-like creature, but who really are just marine mammals trying to get by with bad vision that often results in them chomping into creatures and objects that are not in actuality tasty to them, or even sustenance of any kind in some cases.
Halfway through at number 5, imposter injection. To some, they only play the game to be the imposter, and some people will leave online matches when they're not the imposter. And that's probably because it's like an illicit substance that I can't talk about, because if I did, I would risk getting demonetized. I mean, the science behind it technically makes it one of those substances, because it releases dopamine in the brain, at least if you like being the imposter. Some people play it to be the crewmate because they find it more enjoyable. Those people are probably the most sane out of the bunch, and then there's the people who enjoy killing their friends and coworkers and are probably the psychopaths. Yes, I'm looking at you, Jared, who straight up said that he's always down to play a game where he gets to kill the people he works with. I mean, I always want to be the imposter, unless I do it multiple times in a row, then I know for a fact that everyone's going to vote me off saying, do you really want Connor to get another imposter win? Yeah, I'm confident. Unless the game just makes me lose for no reason, which it did, okay? The first time we played, it did. I have video evidence. So if you don't believe me, try me.
At number 4, the story mode. MapPad had another theory, this time about the overarching story of the game. And Among Us, we started off with the Skeld being the first map, then with the DLCs we got Mirror HQ and Polis. There's a theory of how all 3 of these maps are connected and the story that brings them together. Basically, the idea is that after spending time on the Skeld in space, the crewmates head home to Mirror HQ, probably thinking that the imposter won't be able to hurt them there. After some time at the HQ, the team is then deployed for another mission, this time on the planet Polis. So basically, we're telling a story about a crew of scientists who, let's say, work for Mira, whether that's a company or whatever, and they get deployed on different missions. We start the story as if we are on our way home from one mission on the Skeld, then we finally get back home to Mira HQ, and then sometime later we are deployed again to Polis. The imposters seem to keep following us to each location since their parasite has more or less infected the crew, and the battle for survival continues.
And at 3, homunculi. If you don't know what a homunculus is, did you hear about the guy who combined his cells with this chicken egg and then created another being? Yeah, well, it was fake. But it was still interesting and it took a bit of the internet by storm. Well, this theory proposes, what if these crewmates are the result of that experiment if it had actually worked? It could make sense. They only have one bone and they seem to be their suits since they fill them up while dead. And they could literally, they literally have floating hands. They don't, it's not could, they literally have floating hands. The visor could be their eye and they could just be evolved enough to take over humanity. These crewmates can't be human, okay? It's impossible. If they were, I'm sure that InnerSloth would clarify and they wouldn't be able to be in the same universe as Henry Stickmin, okay? They can't possibly be human. I refuse to accept that explanation.
Number 2, everyone is an imposter. There is a theory that is going around here that suggests all crewmates are imposters. You might be wondering how this could be possible when we're given very specific labels in the game as to who is what, but the theory suggests that imposters are actually an alien species all their own who are able to basically do tasks without arms and who are all capable of shape-shifting. So why do some imposters kill, becoming a true imposter while others don't? The theory suggests that this happens because something for those imposters changed to make them more violent. Either they have some kind of exterior motivation to kill their crewmates, or they have been turned violent as a result of experimentation or exposure. Now, this would even make sense considering some of the labs and areas we have seen on various ship layouts in the game, where it looks like experiments are totally happening on board. So this theory in terms of lore could actually make sense.
Finally, in at number 1, stealing data. If you don't think the game watching your in-game stats is creepy, what about the rest of your data? The game could very well be stealing your information while you play it. The game is available on both mobile and PC, both places where we keep important information like our banking info and our emails. The game is addictive too, with the rounds being quick and fast-paced. The game is cheap, being $5 on Steam and free on mobile, and the game keeps you playing for hours, plenty of time to go through your files and pick out what it wants. I think that on PC this is more difficult, but on mobile this could be a real issue. The game runs while you have other apps operating in the background. Perhaps you didn't totally close your banking app, or you've left your email app open. The game could very well be going through all of those other apps while you sit there addicted to the game, again, like it's an illicit substance. I think you know what I'm talking about. An intense stowaway. The big question of Among Us isn't what the imposter is, but rather how they got on board the ship. Surprisingly, the game itself actually has a story across all the maps, which I'll be talking about later, but the premise has the crewmates originally encountering the imposters in the Skeld map. How did they get on the ship though? I'm guessing they had landed on some other planet that the creatures that make the imposters were native to, and then they climbed on board the ship, probably through the air vents, and then boom, killing spree. It's the most likely scenario that they were some form of alien shapeshifter that turned into a stowaway, but it could be possible that Mira created the imposters intentionally, perhaps in a specimen lab on a planet where we must complete tasks like organizing a box of specimens. Yeah, that's right. You think the government created COVID? No, they made the Among Us imposters. In a 9 guaranteed imposter. There are a lot of theories as to how you can get imposter 100% of the time or just more often. None of these have actually been proven, so they're still just really convoluted theories, but some of my favorites are swapping hats quickly, changing colors quickly, or spamming the use button when you're not near anything to use in the lobby. These are of course shown in YouTube videos where people can cut to different rounds after the thing they just did, or they can cut to only include the rounds where this works. They don't show you the raw footage of them doing this multiple times, only the times that they actually do get imposter. I think my actual top method for this was from another YouTube video where the guy said to just leave the game and join a new one, and then you keep doing this and eventually you'll get imposter. Well, yeah, but it's not like you're increasing your chances. Plus, he said to get around the cooldown to set your clock computer ahead 5 minutes, which is really dumb, and if you do this enough, when you set your clock back to actual time, you'll be blocked for like 4 hours in total. And if you guys are enjoying the video and you want to see more things like this, be sure you let us know by smashing that like button with your imposter tongue. I know it, you're sus. In an 8, deal with the devil. How can a game that was released 2 years ago suddenly become popular, and even so popular that it takes over Fortnite for Twitch viewers and for a time had beaten League of Legends for the most viewers, huh? Have a popular Twitch streamer play it with friends? What? No, how preposterous. Obviously it has to be a deal with the devil. All joking aside, how can it shoot up in such a way? It took over every major game on the market. It's cross-platform, it's available for free on mobile, and you can use that to play with people on PC. It's one of the most incredible to see games with a whole metagame of its own aside from the typical meta that would come with an imposter game. But the fact that it just shot to fame, there has to be some other force at work, right? And with the way 2020 is going, I'm sure you can find the devil on every corner. It's like he's a chain restaurant popping up all over the place, like the kelp shake from SpongeBob. So thinking that a game dev wanted his game to be seen so bad that as soon as it got popular he announced a sequel, there's something, dare I say, sus about that. He probably sold his soul. I saw him vent, I swear. But when you announce that a sequel won't be ready for a year after the game spikes, considering how games rise and fall in popularity all the time, I can't help but feel like they know it will be popular for another year, before the hellhounds come to drag their soul to the depths of the void of space, or before we vote them out. And at 7, Assimilate. The 2019 movie Assimilate has some eerie similarities to Among Us. Of course it came out after the game, but does that mean it was inspired by a little known, at the time, indie game? Well, at the end of the movie, spoiler alert by the way, if you want to see it, go watch it, then come back, I can wait. And even if I couldn't, you can force me to by pausing. Okay, you watched it? Good. At the end of the movie, we see that the shapeshifters had already taken over the rest of the planet, that the town the movie was focused on was essentially the last one or one of the last to be assimilated. What if it's the same concept for Among Us? What if the imposters had taken over the world before we found them on the Skeld? It would make sense. We're out on a space mission, one of the most isolated places, so we would be easy pickings, but we would also be the last to know if the globe was conquered. We'd come back to find places abandoned, like our home base for example. Mira HQ doesn't have anyone anyone in there aside from us, and the logs only show where we've been, indicating that they've been gone for a while. What about the Polis research station? What if that's where the infection started, if it was ground zero? Or they had already started. They saved the ones on the ship until last, sending them with a double agent because if people started dying on a ship, we'd let Houston know. But we don't. We try to deal with it ourselves, even if comms is working. But why? Because we have no one to talk to. And it's 6 vents. What the vents look like on the inside is one of the most interesting things to me, because crewmates can't use them, but imposters can. Why? Is this because the vents are too small and the imposters just shapeshift smaller? Is it that the crewmates are too scared to go into the vents because they know what could be in there? Is it against Mira's rules to go into the vents? Or are they just too weak to open up the vent hatch? Or are the vents really portals and that's why you can only get so far with them? On a spaceship, ventilation is really important, so why don't all the vents connect? These are all good questions, but we don't know anything for sure. Do you have any theories as to what's up with the vents? I know MatPat says that it's because they're too small, but there was no evidence for that aside from only imposters can use them, so we can't take it as fact. But honestly, even having small vents is a bad idea. If you're making oxygen on the ship, wouldn't you want big vents so that they could spread the oxygen more efficiently? Or would that make it less efficient? I don't know. Maybe I should ask the people who keep calling and wanting to clean my ducts about the logistics. Halfway through number 5, all or nothing. I usually look at the organs of my victims to see if I can sell any on the black market, but with the imposters, there isn't really much to salvage, at least for humans. You see, I'm just curious as to what their internal organs look like and how they're laid out, since they can sabotage oxygen, which if the timer reaches 0 ends the game, but you still win. So is this like a you don't need to survive sort of situation? All you need to do is kill the others? Or do you not need oxygen to breathe? In which case, what do you breathe? Like, we all need to breathe something. Even fish breathe the oxygen in water using their gills, so why sabotage the oxygen? They must only need to ensure that everyone's dead, but if that's the case, why? In games like Troubled in Traitor Town, we know that the traitors are CIA agents meant to shut down a traitor organization, which they consider a threat to national security. And if everyone's dead, even including them, they still win. So why does the imposter have the same conditions if they need to breathe? And if they don't, will throwing them out into space really do anything? And at 4, the cake is a lie. The cake from Portal was a lie, at least it was a lie about it being a normal cake. However, what about Among Us 2? The game's sequel was announced only shortly after the game spiked in popularity, and if they didn't make a deal with the devil to keep it popular, why would they announce a sequel for it? To generate more traffic, perhaps? Sure, it's not like a horror story about how aliens are real, but it's scary from both a corporate and fan sense. We were so easily manipulated by this, and the fact that we all got so excited about it only for it to be cancelled so they can add those features to the main game just really sets my sus sensors off. That makes no sense. If they could do that from the beginning, then why not just start with it? Why announce a second game? You could have just added it from the start. Sure, they have to rework the core code, but that should have been done anyway. The sequel must have been a lie, there's no other explanation. And at 3, the airship. Now, keeping that story in mind, where will the airship fit into this? Also, just so we're clear, I joked in a previous Among Us Theories video that this was going to be a FNAF crossover map. It was a joke. Why are y'all getting so mad about it? I'm pretty sure I've talked about it being a Henry Stickmin map in videos that came before that. Do I need a sarcasm sign every time I make a joke? Anyway, the airship isn't in space, it's in the air, obviously, but my guess is that it's probably flying above Polis. It was the latest map in the sequence, and hey, if there's an imposter on the planet in our research station, maybe we should hop onto the airship we found and hit the skies so we can get away. But ha! Joke's on you, the imposter is still with you, and they're still gonna wipe you out. That's the most likely scenario. The other is that they just needed some intel off the ship. And at 2, true form. Even in the last Among Us Creepypastas video, we had people theorizing about the original form of the imposters. But honestly, we will never know, which makes it fun to think about. They could be a black sludge like that story suggests, or it could be something else entirely. I personally want it to be like the bunch of like Grimer or Mucks just like sludging around until they find a reason to shapeshift. Honestly, their lives could have been hella boring before invading and absolutely destroying the crewmate race, so, you know, we could be helping them, kind of. It's scary to think about the fact that we don't know what they truly look like and why they don't just change to the color of whoever they just killed, or why they're just not so small that they can't be seen, but hey, plot. Finally, and number 1, extinct. It is entirely plausible that the race of crewmates in Among Us has been totally wiped off the face of their planet. Think about it. We don't see anyone else other than the characters we're playing as in-game, and they're constantly wearing spacesuits, indicating that they were just in space like we saw on the Skeld. We get back to HQ and nobody is there, it's just us. Like, honestly, how are there only 10 people in a headquarters of a base like that? It's just so improbable, it makes absolutely no sense. So where did they go? Why are we randomly the only ones left at the HQ and even on Polis? The only remnants of civilization are snowmen and tasks. Perhaps the imposters got to us sooner than we thought. This could have been planned for ages. Look at me, I'm sounding paranoid. Next thing you know, you'll think I'm Gormagon.